In a world quick to judge, where fear often overshadows truth, one little girl's bond with 6 misunderstood pit bulls would rewrite the story of an entire breed. This isn't a tale of tragedy but of miracles, of loyalty stronger than prejudice, and love deeper than fear. When danger came, the dogs the world called monsters became heroes. And what happened next would leave the world speechless. Let us know where you're watching from and what time you found this video. A little girl named Stephanie, who was 4 years old at the time, and her mother Mary, lived in a peaceful suburban community where there were frequently rumors of caution that overpowered sympathy. When Stephanie was a youngster, she had a strong emotional connection to animals, and she had always wished she had a pet. Mary defied the concerns of society by adopting 6 pit dogs on her birthday. These pit bulls were named after Greek deities: Apollo, Hera, Zeus, Athena, Hercules, and Venus. Mary thought that these names would represent the courageous and devoted nature that she hoped they would exhibit. Stephanie's canines quickly became her faithful friends, despite the fact that the neighbors originally looked at them with a sideways glance. Stephanie's chuckles could be heard over and over again as the pack kissed her cheeks. Their days were filled with games of tag, sharing naps beneath trees that were illuminated by the sun. After seeing the dogs softly nuzzle Stephanie, Mary's concerns dissipated as she saw their tails waggle in a joyful rhythm. Mary became aware of the fact that she had neglected to prepare the ingredients for supper on a cold evening. As Stephanie was interested in a television, Mary raced to the backyard and secured the dogs in their reinforced outside kennel. Stephanie was watching the TV throughout this time. "Stay put, my protectors," she said, oblivious of the irony that would soon reveal itself in the words that she had just spoken. In spite of this, Stephanie's curiosity was piqued. As she made her way to the kennel, she was carrying a bag of chow in her hand. She was determined to surprise her mother. When the lock was fumbled with by little hands, the dogs escaped, not out of rage, but out of fear for their safety. The bag fell off Stephanie's shoulder as she struggled to pour the food, and she was pinned down by its weight. Under the weight of the bag, she screamed out. Her breaths were short as she struggled to breathe. It was then when the pit bulls began their attack. She was surrounded by Zeus and Athena, whose bodies formed a barrier against the chilly earth. Apollo and Hercules used their noses to prod the sack, while Zeus and Athena surrounded Stephanie. An alarm that was so loud that it reverberated throughout the night was sounded by Hera as she ran to the barrier. In an effort to get assistance, Venus, the smallest of the 3, hurriedly ran to the house and scratched at the rear door. As soon as Mary came back, her heart stopped beating. The image that was unfolding in front of her was a nightmare. Her daughter was lying still and encircled by the dogs the whole time. Before she realized that the bag had been thrown aside, the kibble had spilled nearby, and Stephanie was only faintly stirring. She let out a primal cry. Both of the dogs' tails were wagging hesitantly, and their eyes were filled with concern. Moments thereafter, paramedics came after being called by a neighbor who notified them. Someone stated, "Your dogs were the ones who saved her. It was possible that the sack would have smothered her." They moved it just in the nick of time. Stephanie, who was covered in a blanket, was seen cuddling her 6 heroes, their tongues lolling in satisfaction. News teams flooded the area to capture the aftermath of the encounter. The story spread all across the world. There was a lot of praise for the headline, "Pit Bulls Defy Stereotypes and Save Toddler." A challenge to preconceived notions was presented by the millions of views that videos of the dog's rescue effort received. In the past, Mary was a skeptic of fame. However, she has now transformed into an evangelist, giving lectures on the value of empathy and the misunderstandings surrounding breeds. Years later, Stephanie would remember that night not with terror, but with satisfaction in what she had accomplished. One of the lessons that the dogs, who were her legendary guardians, had imparted to the world was that bravery may be delivered in a variety of forms, and that love, when freely given, has the power to silence even the most vocal biases. At the end of the day, the 6 pit bulls did more than simply rescue a kid. They also set in motion a revolution of understanding, beginning with a single paw print. The tale of Stephanie and her 6 pit bulls quickly traveled over the world like wildfire. The story of the courageous canines who had defied prejudices in order to rescue a little child was shared by a variety of people, including prominent figures, news organizations, and campaigners for animal rights. The unexpected attention that Mary received caused her to feel overwhelmed, and she found herself at the center of a movement that she had never anticipated leading. Residents who had previously avoided the dogs by crossing the street now brought food and expressed their regret for their behavior. Parents who had previously cautioned their children to avoid dangerous pit bulls now spoke to Mary about the possibility of allowing their children to interact with the renowned 6. Families who are ready to give misunderstood breeds a chance have given the local animal shelter a boost in the number of adoptions of pit bulls. On the other hand, not everyone was persuaded. Some opponents said that Mary was intentionally orchestrating the incident in order to gain fame, while others believed that the dogs were still a time bomb waiting to explode. One especially outspoken critic, a television broadcaster who is renowned for his tendency toward sensationalism, requested Mary to participate in a live discussion. With a sneer on her face, the host began by asking, "Aren't you just lucky those dogs didn't turn on your daughter, like so many others have?" Mary sat opposite the host, feeling nervous yet determined. She inhaled deeply and exhaled slowly. After that, she took out her phone and played a video with it, which was a video that the whole world had not yet seen. It was video from the security cameras covering that night. In the image that appeared on the television, Stephanie was seen straining beneath the bag of kibble, her arms thrashing about. The canines cooperated with one another like a well-trained rescue squad, and they did not show any hesitation. The others formed a protective circle around Stephanie, licking her face to keep her calm as Apollo and Hercules pulled the sack away from her. Afterward, Venus sprinted as fast as she could to the house, barking wildly until a neighbor came sprinting behind her. The studio became completely quiet. Mary said confidently, luck had nothing to do with it, and she was right. Love did, in a rare instance. The host did not make a return. Mary and Stephanie were motivated to establish the Guardians Project, a charitable organization that is committed to both rehabilitating and rehoming pit bulls and other breeds that are considered to be socially unacceptable. Through their travels, they educated youngsters about the need of being compassionate to animals and responsible pet owners. As Stephanie grew older and more experienced, she became the face of the campaign. The link that she had with her 6 guards was a live testimonial to the benign character of these individuals. After then, a letter came at some point in time. A K-9 trainer for the military who had viewed the clip was the one who sent it. "Your dogs displayed remarkable intelligence and teamwork," it said in its description. "With your permission, we'd like to train them as therapy dogs for traumatized children." It was a moment of hesitation for Mary. Could she truly let them go? But Stephanie, who was 7 years old at the time, gazed up at Mom with bright eyes. "They came to my rescue, Mommy. They are now able to rescue other people as well." On the day that the dogs went for their training, it was a melancholy day. As Mary embraced each of them and spoke her appreciation to them, tears flowed down her cheeks. Stephanie created images for them to take with them, even though she was inconsolable. One of the photos was of her and the dogs sitting under their favorite tree. Mary and Stephanie were asked to attend a ceremony that formally recognized Apollo, Hera, Zeus, Athena, Hercules, and Venus as certified therapy dogs. This event took place some months after the first statement was made. They watched as their cherished animals soothed a little boy who had lost his family in a fire by petting him, till he smiled for the first time in weeks. The child had been grieving the loss of his family for weeks. Stephanie grasped her mother's hand and squeezed it. Her voice was soft as she said, "They are still our heroes. Now they're everyone's heroes." After a number of years had gone, the legacy of the 6 pit bulls continued to grow. They were the subject of works of literature. There were documentaries that were shot. In a number of states, breed-specific legislation was rendered illegal as a result of legislative changes. Moreover, Mary and Stephanie would go back to their old backyard on the anniversary of that awful night, where a plaque now stood, and they would say the following: "It was here that 6 people who were misunderstood became legendary." May the narrative of their lives serve as a reminder to us that being nice is never an error. But what about the dogs? In the course of their lives, they exemplified the concept that the most passionate love may sometimes be found in the most unexpected things.